country of Belize in Central America is a beautiful paradise with warm and sunny weather, with breezes coming off the Caribbean Ocean. It's just a lovely, lovely place to go and visit. It's actually a place where tourism abounds, especially in the outer islands, where scuba diving and snorkeling and some of their coral reefs are coveted destinations, as well as saltwater fly fishing is also a destination. But there's another side of Belize, the side of Belize that we're going to be seeing in these series of videos, where we see an area called the Burial Ground. Good evening and welcome to Ideas at Work and Beyond. This week we're in Belize, Central America. It's kind of off the Yucatan Peninsula, a little bit south. We're going to be looking at the burial grounds, we're going to be looking at some prisons, we're going to be meeting some interesting people. But today in the pouring rainforest we're going to start with a horse ride. Join us, won't you, on Ideas at Work and Beyond. Okay. We're here at the ranch of John Carr, a transplanted Montana rodeo star. These are the teak forests that he's planted. He has over 200 acres here in Belize. Some have estimated that this teak wood is as expensive as about $80 million worth of teak wood. It's looked after for fine furniture. Back in the 15, 16, and 1700s, then British Honduras was known for its wood. Wood was used for naval construction. But here you have a teak forest. These trees are about 4 or 5 years old. When they get to be 8 years old, that's when they're harvested. Also found in these forests are mahogany. Mahogany is the national wood of Belize. Join us.
Tell us about that firewood that you got.
Here we are at Zanatuich. It's a famous Belizean ruin of the Mayan culture. The Mayan culture was in this area from 2000 BC to about 1500. This ruin that we're about to climb is a huge pyramid. At the top they had virgin sacrifices and also sacrifices of various tribes that they would take over militarily. This is part of the cultural heritage you find here in Belize. And it's pretty incredible when you think that a culture that existed in this area thousands of years ago was capable of constructing something that's comparable to what you might see in Egypt at the pyramids. But when you consider just the engineering and construction feat that put together this incredible Mayan pyramid, at the top of which they had virgin sacrifices, and also to try and assuage the sun god, they would sacrifice some of the tribes that they captured militarily. This culture existed, as we said, between 2,000 years BC and finally ended up about 1500. It was finally extinct. This particular tribe ended about 800 AD, and they're not sure why. There wasn't a great war. There wasn't some sort of starvation or disease. They think there may have been internal problems within the culture that brought it down. But in their heyday, the Mayans here in Belize had it going on. Let's make it to the top. This site really takes your breath away when you consider that this construction, this intricate construction that was all the way to the top, was done 1,500 years, maybe even 2,000 years before Christopher Columbus even stepped foot in the Americas. The Mayan culture, we're not even halfway up this beast, was an incredibly integrated and complex culture. Again, these pyramids were built to assuage the sun god. They thought that by sacrificing virgins and sacrificing people at the top, which we'll get to eventually, was how they would assuage the sun god. These Mayan ruins outside of Belize City are really spectacular to see, and we're going to try and make it to the top. We're going down. What goes up must come down. And luckily there were no human sacrifices. We're here with Junior. Junior is an official tour guide here at the Mayan ruin. What are the time periods that this structure took to build?
Okay, this structure started to be built somewhere around 600 AD. That's the first phase of construction that you can get to find around this area. And it's believed that it took approximately 300 years for this entire structure to be completed.
Wow.
It has 3 construction phases. The bottom phase is going to be 600 AD. The middle phase is going to be 800 AD. And the upper phase is going to be 900 AD. This is where this room comes into play, the last phase of construction.
Well, and what was the purpose of the construction of something this immense?
Okay, similar to the Egyptians, it's believed that the Mayans were actually building big temples. It was done by the ruler just to show his power on certain areas.
Okay.
And when this structure was being, was going through its phase of constructions, this whole building was considered to be a holy spot. It was just used for ritual events.
Okay. And the Mayan culture, and I know in this area, but how long did the Mayan culture exist? How far back did it go?
The first evidence of settlement around this area comes somewhere around 400 BC, but that was just a small village, which is going to be like half a mile going down or heading back to the riverbank. And The actual settlement of around this area comes later on 250 BC. And the Mayan civilization around this area went up all the way to 1000 AD. From 250 BC all the way to 600 AD. That's what we call the pre-classic period, where this settlement was considered to be a small village, and the commoners were just doing farming and just starting to create pots. Later on, from there, that's the time when they started to do massive constructions.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. It's very
Welcome.
impressive. I appreciate taking the time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Eloisa Hassan,
You're a teacher here at the school?
and I was teaching in this classroom last year. We're cleaning up, and I don't know what my room assignment will be next year.
And what grade do you teach?
I teach in F2, which would be like second grade
Okay.
in the States.
And you told me the whole grading system is different than the U.S.?
Yes.
No kindergarten? And what are the different grades?
We have formally, because we have the preschool too, and we have a preschool on campus right here on the compound. But formally, our school system starts with infant 1, which would be like first grade.
Okay.
Infant 2 would be like second grade. Then it goes to standard 1 through to standard 6. So we have standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, standard 4, standard 5, standard 6 would be similar to grade 8, which is when you graduate and go to high school, which the system there is Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4.
Okay.
It's different.
Okay. And how many students are in this classroom?
I had, this last year was the first year that we opened the school, so I had 12 students, because people didn't know about us.
Okay.
And pretty early on, people get their children in school. So that's not going to be the same this year. This year, I will be teaching it from 2 again, and I anticipate 30 students.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. And all these children are from the burial grounds area or from outside the area?
Most of them are local, right
Okay.
around here.
I think- Little Chanelli from next door is in his community school, is she, right?
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, so here we are. And they get sponsors? They get sponsored to come to school?
Some of them
Okay.
sponsors.
Because they have to pay to come to school here. It's like a private school or
It's government.
Government?
aided.
Okay.
Government aided, but it's private. It's a religiously affiliated school.
okay.
And our system in Belize is church school system. It's state, the government aids the school,
Okay.
but they prefer for a church to open the school to impart moral knowledge and religious truths.
Okay.
You know, so they don't, the government don't interfere, but they do assist. But it still leaves a balance in the school, so sometimes parents can't pay. I have students that live right around here, and I never got a dime from them. Because,
They're very poor.
well, you can see their living conditions,
Yeah.
and they were struggling, you know.
So this church is affiliated with the Unity Presbyterian next door?
Yes, the school
Okay.
is affiliated with Unity, and many of her, some of her students, attend the church as well.
Okay. All right, well, thanks a lot for the interview and
You're welcome.
signing off from Belize City.
All right.
The reason that we were down at the burial ground, and we took some students, Eric Sutton from Newtown High School, and Ingrid Dyke from Wilton High School, Grace Heiser from Ridgefield High School, as well as a local plumbing contractor, Bill Duncan, out of Norwalk, Connecticut. The reason that they've come to Belize is because of a small community that's referred to as the burial ground. If you think of burial grounds in New Orleans, where the ground is very shallow, it's almost exactly at sea level. We saw the aftermath of Katrina as a result of building a city on sea level. But in Belize City, it has the same thing. There's an area called the burial ground, and it's surrounded by a swamp. And there was a man named Tim Tam. Yes, T-I-M-T-A-M. I first came to know Tim Tam when he was doing a Young Life work in Wilton, or rather in Wilmette, Illinois, back in the 70s. Young Life is a high school Christian organization. We stayed in touch, and he's done these mission trips down to Belize, focusing on this area called the Burial Ground. The Burial Ground is a community of squatters, essentially, that set up shop in essentially a swamp. They would put together these shanties with any kind of building material that they could find. Corrugated boxes, pallets, shipping pallets seem to be very common. And they would put together these shacks, no running water, no electricity, no facilities whatsoever, no roads, no anything. As a matter of fact, when that community was first being started as a city of squatters, they called it London Bridges, because they would build these makeshift bridges to get out to their shacks. It was really quite a pathetic place to see, and where humanity is just wreaking out some sort of an existence for themselves. Anyways, Tim Tam, back about 10 years ago, found this community called the Burial Grounds and had a heart for it. Felt as if God was calling him to reach out to this particular community. And in the ensuing 10 years or so, he's brought various different church organizations down from his native El Paso, Texas, churches from Florida, churches from Wilton, Connecticut, and other places. Groups have come down to do building. He's befriended some of the senators in Belize and some of the political elites in Belize, got them to put in roads and put in fill in the community. You'll see in some of the footage that we have a church that was built and a school that is being built as well. You'll see interviews with some of the teachers that are there. And the thing about this burial ground community is it may house upwards of 5,000 or 6,000 people, and represented in that is a population of a couple hundred students of grade school age that wouldn't otherwise have a school to go to. Some of these kids didn't have shoes, they couldn't afford the uniforms or the books, and so they just essentially stayed home in their barren shacks that are put together, just wreaking out a meager life for themselves without any possibility for development or advancement. It was only when the ministry that's called The Word at Work, and you can Google that, The Word at Work, we'll put up a website, came in and began to do development there. First, they implored that the government would put in some roads, begin to put in fill, and then as you've seen, they're beginning to put in this school. The school will house 90 students this coming year, students that might otherwise not attend school at all. The man, the senior pastor at the Unity Presbyterian Church, Ernest Beston. He tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up here being the pastor at this church?
Well, first of all, I'm Ernest Beston from Presbyterian Church. How I ended up being the pastor of this church is that I was I was going to St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, a pretty old church which was about 150 years old. And there was a Hurricane Keith that came through Belize about 10, 7, 8 years ago. And after Hurricane Keith, we saw the need in this community area, in the Barrelgong area. So we have an idea why we call it the Barrelgong area. It will take a drop off here. So we build right in the Barrelgong area. And in this area there's a lot of needs. There's a lot of needs for the people in this area where there was the schools are very far away. There's a spiritual need. There was a lot of crime in this area. A lot of people build on London bridges and stilts. You see some of those stilts right over there in London bridges. And we took a survey of the area and we saw the needs of the upliftment of the community. And so God have opened and touched my heart and the heart of the pastor at the time, Pastor Chan. He sent me back here as an evangelist to start the work of the community in this area. So we started to work inside of a home by the name of Marlene and her kids. That's where we started the church to start evangelizing. And we had service every Sunday at the house. And also prayer meeting on Tuesdays. And after 1 year of servicing there, at this time I was doing electrical work and evangelizing. At Key Chapel I was working there during the day and working for a big company. And at the same time, on weekends I come in for seminary and also to do the ministry. So my wife and I, Carolyn Betson, we work together very closely in help building the church here. So I felt that calling because I saw the need for evangelizing, sharing the gospel, and not only fill people's needs or the physical needs, but to fill them with the spiritual need of Jesus Christ, which is the ultimate goal, to share the gospel with them. And I want to praise the Lord for the work that He's doing now, to give Him the glory, because without Him and all the work comes to a wonderful work. And from Hope Presbyterian, from Hope Evangelicals, and from all that's what we call the Unity Presbyterian Church.
Well, I also have to tell you, Ernest Betson, not only will he be on his knees working on the electrical work here, like you can see where they're patching in. This is going to be a new classroom. How many students are coming to this school? Last year was the first year?
2 years ago we started the preschool with 6 students.
6 students.
2 years ago. And then last year we had 100 students within the preschool and primary school.
Wow.
And this year we're putting on 3 more classrooms, and we want to have 75 more students in these 3 classrooms.
So somewhere around 175 kids from this impoverished area will now have a school that they can go to.
Right, which is a blessing from the Lord.
Wow.
And next year we want to go up another 5 classrooms so we can move the preschool out of the church. Now there's 50 children in the preschool right now. Right. And we need to move them over here and go up to the top. And then so we do other
I have to brag a little bit about Pastor Betson. Not only does he work on the electrical outlets here in the new school wing that he's planted here, but he also drives the church bus, brings people to service, makes sure the service stays up, runs the whole church. I mean, I don't know, you do the work of about 5 men.
Right, but it's all because of God's grace, you know.
All right.
And now, support from you.
Now, Ernest Betson occasionally will come through Connecticut, so we'll have to announce it when you come through and people can come in.
Definitely, guys, I'll be coming up here in November.
All right.
And here, God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Amen.
That's a wrap.
God bless you.
Okay, we are here with Dion in one of the classic sort of houses that they have here in the burial ground. You can see it's very tight and it's very minimalistic, but they found a way to make a life for themselves here. Have you noticed the school going up here?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anyone that attends the school, and has it been a blessing?
2 nieces.
2 nieces, and they go to the school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, listen, thank you very much for having us in your house. And we're here. We came all the way down from Connecticut to work this week, so we'll be here all week.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We're here with Oscar Williams. He is the woodworker extraordinaire. You're also a member of the church here, Ernest's Church, right?
I am.
And can you just tell us, what did this area look like before the people came down here and started working?
Well, before this people start working, when we just came here, this church was pure. So it's only on stilts. It was just the flooring, building. All of this was swamp. Everything was swamp.
Okay.
You can look around here, look on the other side.
Yeah, we showed some footage. We tried to capture what the houses looked like and how it was all just water and swamp.
Oh yes, most of these houses are probably brand new. The church was like about on a house way to the back here.
Now, what has the school meant to your family? Are your children or one of your children going to
Yes,
school?
two of them are going to come here in September.
Okay.
Right now we got Chanele, we got Selene and Andrew. They're going to come up to school here.
Wow. Now, before they had a school here, where would your kids have to go if they wanted to go to school?
We're like 2 miles from here.
Okay. And is this your daughter?
Yeah, Selene.
Selena, and you go to the school here? Are you
September.
In September, you're going to start?
After
All right. September, you're going to start? All right. Now, show some of the things that you do as a woodworker as well.
Okay.
I actually have one up in my office, so it's kind of cool.
We have these right here, like these right, this one right here.
Oh, wow.
That is we had the party TV.
Very nice.
You can have a look at the wood before it's ever processed. These are wood right here.
So what type of wood is this?
Well, it's Cerakote. The wood right here.
And from that hardwood, you cut it down, you start with a chainsaw,
Oh yes, then a machete, then we bring it down to
machete,
the,
and then you break it down and eventually it comes out looking like this.
yes, the sanding.
Well, listen, thank you very much. I know Ernest loves what you do for the church. You run the overhead projector during church services. You keep an eye on everything.
Oh yes,
And it's fun getting to know you over the years. So thanks for being on the show.
welcome.
Okay, thank you. As part of our continuing Belize adventure here at Ideas Beyond, this is the shore of Belize. You can see in the distance, Carnival Cruise Line. They bring the ships in here all day, bringing tourists in. Maybe you can pan to this tourist pier right here. And this is sort of the nice, bright face of Belize and Belize City. As the banker mentioned, 1 out of every 4 jobs in Belize is through the tourism industry. So it's very big for them. So Belize, you're seeing a lot of the beautiful aspects of Belize, places where cruise ships come, and you're also seeing the burial ground. You're seeing it all, because Ideas of Work and Beyond, we're here, we're going behind the scenes, we're going to show you everything.
Inna di Santo, sobre la paix, non forget to
Belize, a small Caribbean nation in Central America. Golden beaches, lush rainforests, 5-star tourist resorts, and one of the highest murder rates in the Caribbean.
in my town, no one is around. You on the street say, yo, you're going down.
Drug trafficking, lootings, armed robberies. The city's back streets are owned by the gangs. Marlon Scheme is CEO of the country's only prison. He knows the gangs and the criminal culture that breeds them.
They look up to the criminal and the bling-bling criminal that is portrayed on American TV. You have these guys like Tupac Shakur, all these guys who are portrayed as gangsters.
They follow those role models who are also seasoned criminals, and they become criminals themselves.
The typical Belizean youth, we grow up in a society where gangs and drugs and crime and violence is a main hobby. Everybody's doing it. These streets are literally a kill zone if you want really to wipe or bump off somebody, because there's nowhere to go and you can't go fast. There's crack houses on both sides. We have more bars on those windows than we have there in the prison.
From a very young age, I started using crack.
And the more severe that addiction became in me, the more severe the crimes became. I started getting guns now, running into supermarkets, and robbing people about the place just to get that crack money. Sometimes I'm in a crack house and I would be smoking and I would say, God, let this be the one that stops my heart, I'm just take my life away because, I felt hopeless.
David White is only 29, but he has already been in prison 6 times.
The prison was some place that when you come, I think you get out more negative than you come, There wasn't any form of rehabilitation. We used to run this prison also, man, We would have all these officers on our payroll and we would just do what we want and we kill who we want, we hurt who we want. The living condition, it was a wreck, it was a mess.
Conditions, the sanitation, everything was rather deplorable and certainly was not conducive towards any kind of rehabilitation.
The situation became so bad, the government sought outside help and asked a group of businessmen to advise on the management of the prison.
We visited the place and we were absolutely horrified at the conditions and the lack of humane treatment with the prisoners.
The Colby Foundation was formed, and they had a huge challenge ahead of them: turn this prison around.
In the year before we took over, there were 56 escapes in that 1 year. There were monthly killings and stabbings and many problems security-wise.
We were really in trouble. We had guards hostile, we had prisoners hostile, and we had no clue of what we were doing. We prayed a lot. Prayer was the start of everything.
Prison Fellowship International were brought in, bringing expertise from working in prisons all over the world.
These guys came along that had experience, so we grabbed them for advice, how do we handle these different problems? And they have been our mentors since we started.
In the 5 years since the Colby Foundation took control, the prison has undergone a remarkable transformation. One of their first initiatives was Jeremiah 33, a radio station broadcasting a positive message over the prison PA system.
And I would like to share a portion of scripture with you. Be devoted to
one another in brotherly love, honor one another above all. Yeah.
And I encourage you to share brotherly love.
There are plenty of opportunities to learn practical skills: reading and writing, computer literacy. The prisoners' days are now filled with positive activity.
It gives them back a lot of their self-esteem that they lost.
These programs really help us, There's a lot that I'm learning in here, that I learned to control myself and trying to be a different person.
We went from very violent to non-violent,
I'm so thankful that I have realized at a young age, that, I can do something better with my life,
I think we went from a place that had no hope at all into a place where hope abounds.
The next time David came back to prison, he found a very different culture, one which no longer suited his lifestyle. But the Colby rules were clear. David had to change or suffer the consequences.
When David came to prison, he was placed in the Supermax building and confined to that cell under full lockdown. And he totally demolished the cell.
I was a roaring lion. I was mad, not only with everything around me, but with myself.
The officers made the mistake of opening the door and he attacked them. He was very violent.
During his time in maximum security, David hit rock bottom.
The day I was in Supermax and I got the message that the mother of my only child died, it broke broke me. It really tore me apart. I said, you know, Mr. Skeen, I give up. I surrender, man, you know. I want something better, you know. So he says, David, the only way for you out of Supermax is for you to go to the IFFB program, you know. I goes, man, you know, you're putting me on the spot, but he says, that's your passport.
Interchange for Freedom Belize is an 18-month program of spiritual transformation run by Prison Fellowship Belize.
We say, well, I've done so much, I can't go back to God. The door is still open. All we've got to do is knock. We have Bible studies all morning. We have educational classes all afternoon. So they get a spiritual change. And this gives them the tools to cope with when they go out. Repent means to change.
To be very honest with you, I just came to IFFB to get away from Supermax. I came playing games. I didn't realize that my submission allowed God to start molding me. I have tried it every other way except the way of God. I surrendered to God and it happened. It happened.
Trying things God's way turns David's life around. He becomes a leader in the prison, working at the radio station, leading worship, and even being appointed to the Prisoners' Concern Committee. He's a real success story, and when he becomes eligible for parole, it's granted. But on release, he soon finds that he's not as strong as he imagined.
It started from a little cigarette, you know, a little marijuana, and it went further on to eventually crack use.
Scared by what she sees, his own mother calls the parole officer.
I said, before it get bad, let me do the best thing, call him back so they could put him up back.
Just 5 short weeks on the outside, and David finds himself back in prison.
He was really messed up. All dirty, hadn't bathed for look like weeks, eyes wild, and he was higher than a kite.
Man, I was ashamed. I felt dirty. You know, I felt embarrassed that I have failed.
He went through the chronic withdrawal symptoms and all of that, and I told him, look, you want out of Supermax? Let's treat the addiction problem that you have. That crack addiction is very, very hard to counteract. And we firmly believe that the best way to counteract it is God. Only He can give you the strength to beat that habit.
ARC has restored back a sense of hope to me also, you know, because I was wondering, man, what will it take for me to stay away from that stuff, you know, and that's what I'm learning in ARC.
The ARC rehabilitation program is giving David the tools he needs to survive on the outside. In the past, he has struggled and failed to beat his addiction. Now he realizes a young girl is counting on him. And that fact hits home when the prisoners are allowed a final family visit before they go into their last intensive month of rehab.
I fear crack cocaine. I fear living in addiction again. I fear running out in the streets with a gun trying to rob someone to maintain my habit. I fear losing the people in my life that really have been behind me all these years. I fear losing them.
I look forward to live with my dad because I don't want him to get into any more trouble. I want him to stay out here and look forward for me.
Shantae definitely is my key to success. She's my little woman. She's my little princess, you know. I need to be that dad that she deserves in her life. She doesn't deserve that crackhead. She doesn't deserve that criminal. She doesn't deserve to come to prison and see her dad behind bars all the time. Jesus' love is what right now I am clinging to get me by. Jesus' love showed me that forgiveness is there, and forgiveness comes from God.
We're here with Shelly Usher. Shelly Usher is the owner of Builders Hardware, the largest provider of building material here in Belmopan. Belmopan is the capital city of Belize. It was originally Belize City, but they had too many hurricanes. I guess a big one in 1961, and so then the capital was moved here to Belmopan. What is it, about 20 miles inland from the coast?
Belmopan?
Yeah.
It's 50 miles from Belize City.
50 miles, okay, even further. Well, we're here today, just want to pick your brain a little bit about your involvement with the Word at Work, Tim Tam, who we've heard a lot about from a lot of people, and the Children's Home. How did you become involved with this?
I work with Marla's House for the last 9 years. Just as a volunteer I started, and then I was asked to be on the board, so I got more involved, trying to raise funds to run the home and trying to get the word out there. And we have we take a maximum of 21 kids. Tim came around just volunteering, he's looking for volunteer opportunities and how he can assist us, and so he became very friendly. We're very good friends, and I invited him to be on our board. He was so involved with us being able to sustain the home and running the place. So we see a lot of each other, we work hand in hand, and then I became more involved with him, and I've seen the stuff that he does, building homes for people, for the poor of the poorest, and then I've been having a hardware store, which I help him and we give to the Word at Work.
Excellent. Now the home, it's an orphanage here in Belmopan?
No, it's not. It's a home for sexually abused and neglected kids.
Okay.
And not necessarily an orphanage, because a lot of times they're removed from a difficult situation in the home.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they're not necessarily orphans.
Okay, but they're kids that are in trouble.
Kids who are in trouble, they have court case, they have to attend their court case, and we keep them safe while all this is going on. And if there's a possibility of being placed with a family member, then that happens. So they're not necessarily orphans.
Wow. Well, we have a TV show called Ideas at Work and Beyond back in the States. We can send you a link to the show. But we've seen a lot of Belize, a lot of poverty, a lot of development projects that are going on, and I think people like yourself and some of the things that you're doing are really benefiting the country as a whole.
We try.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you letting us invade your office on a Wednesday morning. And
without warning.
Without warning, we just come in, and we really appreciate your time.
Always welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So far during our time in Belize, we've gone to the burial grounds, we've gone horseback riding through jungles, we've actually taken horses out into the river, we've seen marketplaces, we've seen some of the dilapidated housing that you have in certain areas, but now we're at the upper levels. We're interviewing today Deborah Sewell, who works with the Belize National Energy Company, and she's in charge of their charitable trust. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Now, it was interesting to find out that you lived in Stamford, Connecticut.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, how do you get from Stamford, Connecticut, here in Belize? Did you start here? What's your whole story?
Actually, I left Belize when I was 14 years old. My family moved to New York. We lived in Westchester County. I graduated from high school, Greenburgh, New York, and went to college and started working in the area of nonprofit, which brought me to Stamford approximately 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I moved to Stamford. I was the president and CEO of the Yearwood Center, which is a community organization, and my commitment to them was for 3 years, because I did plan on moving back to Belize. It was always my plan.
So you left Belize when you were 14. Okay, I won't do the math or anything like that, but you left at 14, and then you were in the States for over 20 years, and now you're back. Okay.
Right. Wanted to come back because a lot of the work that I was doing in the States, I knew I could be doing here and helping people in my country. And so the plan was to come back. So I came back a year ago in June, and
I saw a position advertised for Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust. I didn't know it was Belize Natural Energy at the time.
Right.
And I applied for it and went through a rigorous interviewing process, which was new for me.
Okay.
And there was also a learning curve because I had never worked in Belize and never lived in Belize as an adult. And so, but it was the work that I was doing in the U.S. I was just on the flip side. In the U.S., I went out looking for funding, and on this side of it, I'm the funder.
Okay.
So the charitable trust has approximately $5 million, and we receive 0.9% of the revenues from the oil company. We're operated separately from the oil company. I am the general manager of the charitable trust. So I manage the $5 million, and we decide how we're going to invest. And invest means fund projects.
Okay.
But we use the word investment because there's a tendency for people to believe if it's a grant that they really don't have to do anything and just sit.
Right.
And it keeps coming. And one of the things that we do is we develop the potential in people, and we show them how they can sustain their programs and projects.
All right. Let me just back up 1 second. Because it was talked that in Guatemala and Honduras and some of these other countries in the surrounding area, certainly Mexico, there is a huge amount of oil.
Yes.
And the speculation had always been that in Belize, there must be oil somewhere. What happened fairly recently here in Belize that they discovered oil?
Well, there was a Belizean, his name is Mike Usher, who always believed that there was oil. He was one of those people who would go off, trekking through the jungles.
Like wildcat,
right,
like the
kind of, yeah.
Belize in Texas.
But always had this strong belief that there was oil and other minerals in Belize that could help the country. And so he teamed up with a geologist and who believed his dream.
Okay.
And they went off and they were at a seminar at Tony Quinn. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tony Quinn, but they were at a seminar and they met some other people and they started talking about their dream of oil being in Belize.
Wow.
And so the other people bought into it and decided that they would invest with them and come back and look for oil.
Wow.
That's the short story.
Right.
So they came back and they drilled in the first five places that they drilled, they discovered oil.
Wow.
And so...
we were talking before, it's a little like the opening scene to the Beverly Hillbillies, they were, it wasn't quite that, scattered, but okay. So they found oil, and all of a sudden Belize as a country is sitting on a veritable gold mine of oil and oil revenue. So then enters Belize National Energy, which I guess is the corporation that you work for, and as you just mentioned, they have decided that 1.9% of their revenues, 0.9%. Okay, so just shy of 1% of their, is that revenues or is that of their revenues, they're going to put into a charitable trust.
Right.
So every year you're handed, well, I guess in this case, a check for $5 million.
Well, it's not $5 million every year because it depends the prices of oil.
Okay.
So once the oil is sold, it's every quarter. We receive a check every quarter.
For $5 million?
We have a total of $5 million
okay.
Right now in counting because we receive a check every quarter.
Okay.
And that, it depends on what the price of oil is on the market, we produce we produce about 5,000 gallons of oil per day. So it's relatively, it's a small amount.
Right.
And we're a small country, so.
But there's potential.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
So you're handed this money, and then your task or your mission is to go find worthy organizations and projects. And so give us that tie-in. How did you meet the Word at Work? And some of the viewers have seen what's going on down at the burial grounds and some other areas. How did that connection come in?
Well, I looked at what we had, and I looked at the projects that were coming in. And every time I went to visit a site, someone would say, "Oh, the Word at Work came in and they donated books. The Word at Work came in and they built, our kitchen for our feeding program."
Right.
And so it's every time I went to a different project, the Word at Work was being mentioned. And
they beat you there?
Right, exactly. And so I said, well, I need to Google these people and find out who they are. So I Googled them, and it said Tim Tam, and then I looked at the man, and he's a white guy. And then I'm like, okay, this is not an Asian person.
Right.
And so So I set out to try to find Tim.
Right.
And
It's like some sort of a movie or something, but
so, I felt I needed to meet him because we could partner in some way, because we were actually working on the same projects. And so in thinking how we were going to partner, I wanted to meet him.
Right.
And I was at a board meeting for an orphanage, and he sits on the board, and it just so happened he was in the country at that time.
Right.
And he shows up, and I said, "Oh, I've been trying to meet you." And he's like, "I've been trying to meet you too." So that's where we met, and we started talking about how we could potentially partner.
Wow.
And he's doing some work in the Valley of Peace area.
Right.
And
We're going to be going there next, actually.
And we had a request from a school in the Valley of Peace.
Okay.
So we decided that we would work with the school.
Right.
And this was kind of our first project together. And I said to Tim, "Well, we've been trying to work with them. I know you've been in the community. Can you help us out? We'll put the money in, and if you can get people down to really, help with this computer lab." And so he pulled in the prison. They built the furniture that's going into this computer library research
The prison
center.
built it?
Right. The prison built the furniture.
I mean, the synergies that are going on here are just blowing my mind. You got oil from the ground, you got this crazy American Tim Tam, you got the Word at Work, you got prison ministry, they're building the furniture that's going to go into the school, and then it's all funded by your charitable trust.
Exactly.
Sorry, I interrupted. I just...
Then Tim talked to us about the containers that he's bringing down.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And in January we brought down 2 containers from Fairfield County. Actually, Domus Foundation donated from the schools in Bridgeport. They were getting rid of their furniture.
Okay.
And so we had 2 containers of school desks, office furniture, books.
Chalkboards, right down to the pencil sharpener.
Everything. Everything came in on those 2 containers, and that was at a time when the country had been devastated by a flood. And there were a lot of schools who lost everything.
Wow.
And so we asked the schools in the Belize River Valley, which was the area that was most affected, to send us a wish list. This was before the container came, so everybody sent in a wish list. And we separated the list by schools. When the containers came in, everybody got exactly what they wanted.
Wow.
And I mean, we had no idea. We just told them to put whatever you had in the container. So, we want to thank the people in Fairfield County for doing that, for the schools. So we were able to help 19 schools. So Tim talked about bringing containers down. And we said, and when he brings containers down, they help many, many people in this country. I mean, from medical supplies to, schools, whatever. And so we actually... and this is a funny story. We said to him, "Well, what do you need?" And he goes, "Well, if I could have, $5,000 a month to help me." But he meant 5,000 US. But we're in Belize, so now I'm thinking Belize dollars.
Right.
So I said, "Okay, 60,000. I'll go back to my board and I'll, ask them for $60,000 to help you out to bring these containers down, and we'll partner that way." So he said, "Fine." So I go back and I get, approval right away for the 60,000. I go, "Tim, we got approved for 60,000. He goes, "Deborah, I meant 60,000 US." So now we're in I said, "Let's work with what we have now, and then I'll go back to the board for the other 60. But, it's a great thing to be able to partner with the Word at Work, because what you guys are doing, really helps out a lot of people in Belize. We're going to be opening the first ever center for speech therapy and occupational therapy downstairs in this building for the entire country. And that was made possible through the Word at Work, because a lot of the equipment that we have downstairs, or all the equipment we have downstairs, is equipment that was donated, and Tim had no idea who was going to use that. Right. And I said, this is what we're looking to do, and we're partnering with the Ministry of Education to do it. And he said, "Well, I have this equipment coming down. Can you use it?" Yeah. So, so now we're opening the center, which is really going to be beneficial to the people in the country. And it's just things like that. And people don't realize that they donate things, and Tim has no idea where these things are going to go. Yeah. And it's organizations like ours and other organizations that he works with here in Belize that will say, "Wow, you got that, we can use it, and
absolutely.
we need it," that kind of thing. So
even at the school we're working at, we had we had like jungle gyms and swing sets that people donated, and it's like, wow, we can put that up,
Right.
and they're using it right
And even
away.
old, sports equipment, uniforms, it's, people in the U.S., we always think these things are old and, they're gold for people here.
Even at the last minute before we came down from Fairfield County, just this last time, I sent him a quick email. What do you need? He said, well, you know what we need? We need sewing machines.
Yeah.
So we sent out sort of an email blast. We ended up coming down with 3 sewing machines. But now these are sewing machines that have sat in the corner of a basement for decades, ever since Grandma went on, and they're just left there. But you can take them down and you can use them.
We're also working with that project.
Oh, they needed the sewing machines.
Yes, it's the women's department, and they have this project going to help women to become self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So the First Lady and I met last week to talk about the project. She did mention that he's bringing it down, so we're also... But, that's what we need to do, because when you look at $5 million and you look at what's needed here...
Is that Belize or America?
That's Belize. That's Belize. So
2.5. Still a good chunk of change.
Yeah, it is. So, we try to partner with organizations to maximize the resources that we have. And so Word at Work is extremely important to what we're doing, and, developing the country and really working, with people who are impoverished and, the poorest of the poor. And they are.
We've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Well, listen, it's a thrill to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you what you're doing with the Belize Natural Energy, the charitable trust. And please continue your partnership with the Word at Work. And we'll keep sending folks down to move stuff around and try to do some help down here. And it's just a joy to be part of the whole process coming together.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to us. It is an incredible experience. I took my daughter, you'll see her in the video, Grace Heiser. I took her down there for the first time when she was 8 years old. She's now 17, and I think she's made about 5 or 6 different trips. It's kind of evolved into our father-daughter time together during the summer, and she won't go a summer without it. It's a really, really inspirational time. It's a good time to have with your kids. It's an opportunity to grow closer to each other, grow closer in your relationship with the Lord, and also have an opportunity to see an underprivileged community up close and see the benefit that you can bring through the sweat of your brow. As you can also tell from these videos, we also have an opportunity to do some exciting stuff like ride horses through the jungle, see some Mayan ruins. There's also even snorkeling out on a private island at the end of the week. But don't be mistaken, there's a lot of hard work, and what you see going on with those cinder block schools and all the construction and digging ditches and mixing concrete, that's a big part of what you would do as well if you went down to Belize City. So here at Ideas at Work and Beyond, we go places. There's a little bit more video clips of the trip down to Belize. We'll be putting together another show about it. But really, if there's any interest at all, don't hesitate to get in touch with Tim Tam at twaw.org. Now stay tuned for more interesting stuff from Belize, and potentially we'll be on top of a mountain in Switzerland as well.
What can I say? We get along very well. Nice chemistry. So it's right. It's been a great class.
What do you think that you tell somebody who are going to take this class, like the next semester, I guess, of this class? What do you think you tell them on their first day?